Hello, everyone, and welcome to the weekend edition of the Market Wrap-Up with myself, Michael Nauss from StatsEdgeTrading.com. So what we do every day is a short little video talking about what's going on with the FX markets, the crypto markets, all of that kind of stuff, and the equity markets, of course. And then on the weekend, we kind of slow things down, take a little step back, look at weekly charts, look at longer term trends, and try to figure out, get our head in the right place for what we're going to be doing going into next week. It's always a good time to build a plan, right? Just zoom out, chill out, and see what's going to happen next and position ourselves accordingly. So if you want all of this stuff, the video, all of the screenshots I'm going to go through, access to my watch list, emailed directly to you, just go to StatsEdgeTrading.com. You can sign up for the Substack there. You can just do it directly through Substack. If you look for Michael Nauss CMT, that's me on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all that kind of stuff. I keep everything the same just to make it easy. Now, without further ado, we're going to get into Bitcoin. And we finally got some movement here in Bitcoin, finally. So again, we're going to go a little slower. We're taking the longer term charts. I'm just zooming in to make sure I'm hitting on all the points that I want to here. So Bitcoin, obviously pretty dramatic sell-off here, and a pretty dramatic, like the speed of it was pretty dramatic, but a pretty ugly week, right? We were talking all the time about how boring Bitcoin was, but we have kind of broken down here. So now we have to watch these lows right here, which is about 25,000 or so. So for me, over the weekend going into next week, I'm going to see if we can kind of build maybe a base or put in kind of a weak looking bounce or something on the daily chart, or even, say the 4-hour chart, to take the other side of, right? I'm not just going to chase something that's crashed down this far. I want to kind of sit back and wait for something to occur and then kind of take that trade. So other than that, couple currencies I wanted to point out. One is cable, which is what the cool kids call pound and dollar. Basically, still holding this kind of area right here. So I've talked about this a few times. I am long. I'll always say that from a shorter time frame. I generally trade the hour chart when it comes to currencies. It basically just looking at this support right here. I've got my bias from the 1-day chart in which we're holding this area, and that kind of lines up with the 1-week chart. You can see how important this, call it 126 area is. For when we broke out, we retested it, and now we're retesting it again. So then what I do is I zoom into a lower term chart, and I try to find areas of support and resistance to take plays off of with this longer term thesis in mind. So that's what I've done with cable. If we can hold this and push higher, that's great, because I'm taking something that looks good on the weekly, the daily, and the 1 hour. If it reverses, small loss, move on to the next thing. Other thing was looking at gold. So gold, I've been talking about this anchored VWAP from these lows that got us really interested for a long time. We have that low right here, it acted, we have right here, and then I was looking for it to act here, never did, and just kind of broke down. So unless this kind of retakes quickly, I'm still watching this anchored VWAP. I'm not interested in gold. But then I look at silver, and silver is holding that level with a little bit of a bottoming tail in through here. So I like silver over gold. Relative strength within sectors, within securities, within all of these things make perfect sense to me. It's why, right, if I look at the euro versus the dollar, right, it's broken this kind of same level that was probably 126 on the on cable, but you can see kind of the relative weakness here if I switch back and forth to the dollar, right? So that's kind of how I do this when it comes to trading these different currencies, is just like anything else, right? So I'm just moving all these things together. So all of these things right here are denoted in dollars. So if I'm picking something to buy versus the dollar, I'm going to pick the strongest one, and the strongest one for me is silver. So that's the one that I kind of picked up against this level, right? I'm not going to risk all the way down to this week's low, but that's kind of the game plan for this. Now, into trade ideas here, so we can go into some weekly charts. I don't talk about the Dow much, but the Dow is a very important index, and we did get a pretty cool reversal on this today. But if you look here on the weekly chart, I'm just kind of noting that all of these highs right here that were very important so far acted as support. Now this is again an ugly candle that may need weeks to kind of to cool off a bit. If we do look at the SPY for the same kind of thing, you can see we are tapping this high right here and then bouncing off it. 3 ugly weeks down in a row. A relief bounce makes sense to me, but again, it's I'm not just going to kind of go all in at this point because we are pulling back. It makes me think that getting back to this high will take some time, repair some damage. I don't think it's the end of the bull market. I think people who are going crazy like that need to see more evidence before that occurs. But so if we pull back a little more, or we kind of base for a long period of time, I think that's fine. Just more of a messy market is kind of what I see. USO, looking at oil. So again, always keep the Dow, the big ugly candle in the Dow and the big ugly candle in the SPY in mind, and then look at oil just kind of basing right here, just moving sideways as opposed to selling off. That tells me there's some relative strength in the energy space. TAN, if you want to look at relative weakness, this is what TAN is right now, breaking down into new lows right here. So it didn't get this bounce at all from what happened during, when everything else bounced. Solar didn't, selling off. So again, just keep that in mind for the solar place. DBC, which is mainly just a full commodity index ETF, doing the same kind of thing as oil, just showing us that, hey, stocks might not look good, but we have commodities that do look good. And then XLE, so I'm just going to take this, I'm going to go from XLE and put this image in your head, right? Up 5 weeks in a row, bottoming tails throughout, inside week, really nothing happened, and then go and take a look at the SPY, right? Down 3 weeks in a row, ugly, giant red candle. Just if you want to look for relative strength, there's ways to do it with comparison charts and to be all fancy, or you can just put in the work, go through the charts and say, yep, energy definitely stronger than oil right now, right? So we get into the watch list. So again, I'm not going to go through everything on the watch list. Everything on the watch list is in the email. So if you want all of that, just sign up for the email list. I just go over everything that's new for a little bit of brevity, keep things a little bit tighter for this kind of stuff. So one is cocoa, which is just garbage energy water, or coconut water that I think tastes like crap, but nice tight base here after kind of some craziness after earnings with a 13% short float. So I'm interested in this one if we can push higher on this. What else did we add today? We added CCJ. So in the energy space, we've got a couple names. CCJ, we have just kind of getting really, really tight here. Look at this weekly chart, super, super strong. Canadian uranium miners. So if energy and uranium and everything is going to look good, then that's something that we can take a look at. This one shouldn't be up here because I didn't take it. I just see it moved a little bit from when I put in the price alert. But SVV, you want to talk about a potential recession stock. SVV is is Value Village, right? So kind of a little cup and handle look on a Value Village, a nice tight base after earnings, newer IPO or DSPAC or something like that, right up near these highs. So SVV looks very interesting to me. We have GFRS. I don't think that's one's new. Pump. I'm just going through some of them just to see if there's any new here that I forgot about. SWBI. No, these are all kind of the same, right? We're looking for tight bases. When the market's selling, I'm looking for something that's holding up and putting in a tight base. I did take a trade today. DBI, no. So that I just got to move that so it goes back down there. But SAH, I did. So this is one that we actually added to the watch list yesterday. Basically, the play here is a high short float and really, really strong stock. So again, the bottom chart right here is usually a weekly chart. This is what we do at Trade Ideas. It's picture and picture chart. So what you're looking at, the main chart's a daily. Down there is a weekly. I swap those back and forth all the time. But if we go to the weekly chart, you can just hit this button right here, and it just swaps between these two charts. So now this is a daily and this is a weekly. You can see really, really strong, just even over the last handful of weeks with some kind of resting and consolidation in here. But if we zoom this way out, you can see just an absolute beast this thing has been. And then we switch this back to a daily chart, And then you can see really tight consolidation. Again, a 16% short float on this one. And then you want to talk about relative strength to the market. This is why I work harder, and I have, even though I trade less, I enjoy when the market's selling off, because it allows me to really go through stocks and find stuff that's not selling off, so I can take these relatively strong names. So that's the one trade that I took today. Just scrolling through here, make sure I didn't forget anything. I don't think I did. So again, if you want to do some very basic scanning on your own and you're looking for ideas, again, if you don't have trade ideas, go to trade-ideas.com. Use StatsEdge 15 or StatsEdge on checkout, saves you 15% off. That also helps the channel. They launched a brand new web product that is just completely new, web-based. There's really nothing you have to do for it at all. Everything's kind of set up on your computer. You can start to go through names that are the kind of strongest names out there, right? So let me just bring in the web product here, take a look at it for a second. We'll go in through here. So right, this is just running on my Mac. So this is the advancers and decliners throughout the day. Here's a heat map of stuff that was up the most. You can go in over here and go into top lists. You can find S&P 500 names that were up a bunch and just start clicking through these. You see how fast everything updates. NOV is interesting. Nice tight base up here. May add that. That may be added on the way. I didn't know that. All these scans, you just drag them in here to look at the different names. So you can do this for free if you just sign up for an account. But if you want the real-time data, you have to sign up with StatsEdge for 15% off. And again, just go through and say, okay, what's working well? What can I put on a list? Basically, just by saying what is up this week. Everything was down this week. So the ones that weren't down this week are very, very interesting. Here's another one that I didn't think of with Gap Store, GPS, doing very well. Nice little tight base. Maybe I'll add this one in, but I'm really going to take a look at this NOV. So I can just go up here. I can type in NOV. And I have this setup right here. So I have a chart. I can switch over to the weekly chart, back to the daily, and then I can go through profile and I can read about what they do and news if I cared about that. So yeah, check this out. It's a good way just to start taking a look. And that would be my suggestion for people who are interested in scanning. Because a lot of people say, hey, Mike, I like your analysis, or maybe they say don't. But I want to know what to kind of do on my own. This week, I think it's really, really easy. You find stuff that's strong, you get in, or you just make a list, you scan, you make a alert, go into your broker, set an alert, say, hey, let me know if this strong thing breaks out, and then you just wait. Do the same thing Monday, do the same thing Tuesday. Again, it gets a little bit harder when the market is rallying, but when the market's selling off, I think the easiest thing you can do is say, okay, what sectors or industries or individual stocks are not selling off? Those are the ones I'm going to go over. So that's it for that is it for me this week. On the channel, there's going to be a little bit more talk, an intro video to get you guys through that web version if you're interested. So stay tuned for that on either Saturday or Sunday, and I will talk to you guys next week.